So if you're billing at $100 an hour, your ceiling is $200,000. Now that's a good job, but that's assuming you're billing every single hour of the year, which, as you just said, it's not possible. We're not robots. And so you're always going to hit that ceiling and you're going to burn out because you just can't. So one of the things I love to do, the first exercise I'll do with a new coaching client is called an energy audit. And anybody can do this at home right now. You just need a sheet of paper and a pencil. You draw a line down the middle. And on one side you put plus, and the other side you put minus. And I will work with CEOs to say, let's schedule our calendar based on our energy, right? What gives you more energy and what drains your energy? And the little psychology trick here is you turn those metrics red if you missed your goal and green if you hit your goal. And I don't know about you, but like, I'm competitive with myself and I want to turn those dumb little cells green every month because I want to know, like, am I doing what I said I would do? Am I doing what my business requires of me? And then the real power, as you start to become beyond a solopreneur, is delegating some of those metrics to other people. But I think we're all competitive against ourselves, right? And so we want to beat last quarter, last year, yesterday.
Hey, John, welcome to the High Performance CEO Show. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Sebastian. I hear I'm your last pod before you're jet setting across the world.
Jet setting across the world, yes. And we would like to talk about solopreneurs today, yeah? Because you're the expert in helping solopreneurs get out of this rat race many of them are in. And some of them, we all experienced it. We all started as one-man shows. My first business was just me, myself, and I, running my first business from my living room in a small flat, and I had my desk, my PC, a stationary PC back then. It was 96, and then Monday morning, my phone was ringing all the time. Yeah. And I called it Monday morning motivation because then you had these people calling you, trying to sell you something. and it started all from there. But yeah, it's not about me. It's about you. And you help, people who just started their business.
Yeah, I help solopreneurs. At the end of the day, like, I think everybody should be an entrepreneur. I don't know if the world would still work that way, but I just think it's such a great, rewarding career. And so I now coach the person that I used to be. So I started very much like you. I was 23 years old, started a business. I was all by myself. I didn't know what I was doing. And what I realized is the problem is a lot of people go about 12 months, they grind, they put their heads down, they work. Then they put their head up and they realize, gosh, I'm working more hours than I used to when I was an employee, and maybe even making
less money.
Less money. Yeah, no benefits, right? Like the stress, and if you could just keep going a little bit further and kind of break through that ceiling, and like you said, get out of the hamster wheel, the rat race of solopreneurship, and make sure you're building a company and not a job, then I think the freedom is on the other side. You just got to get through it. And so it's fun. I ended up building a design agency to a few million in revenue, about 20 employees. We worked with the world's best brands, Marriott and Netflix and Major League Baseball and Google, to tell their stories. And if I look back when I was the one person, there was no way I ever dreamed of what it would become. I didn't have a vision for what it became, but it just, by each project we sold, each person we hired, it just kept, the pieces started building into a foundation of a real company and not just a busy job.
Yeah.
So I want to help that person.
And this is a very important point. I mean, if you don't have if you build an organization and you're the only person who's working and everything is relying on this one person, you don't have an organization, you have a job. And this is what you want to get. Many people go away from a job to become an entrepreneur, but as you said, they end up in a similar position.
Well, I like to joke that like solopreneurship has been kind of glamorized, but I would argue either the really good, successful solopreneurs actually have people behind the scenes, like a VA or a contractor or an agency, or the folks who are like, I am by the beach in Thailand and I'm a solopreneur. They're probably working 7 days a week. And that's not what I want to do.
Yeah. And there's this wrong image they project to people, because many people say, "Oh, I also want to run my own show because then I can sit on a beach in Thailand and work 2 hours a day or work 4 hours a week like Tim Ferriss."
Tim Ferriss, yeah.
So what are the main problems of or the main challenges of solopreneurs when they start an organization?
Yeah, great question. So I kind of think of it as I have a triangle model. Like marketing, sales, and delivery are sort of the key elements of any business. So the problem with marketing at first, if you're a solopreneur, is we need leads. We need more customers. We need more prospects. And so we need to build what I call loyal leads, which is through creating content and telling your story and showing people the transformation of working with you. It's not at Lemonly, my old agency, we sold JPEGs, but we weren't selling JPEGs. We were selling clarity. We used an infographic to tell a story, and we took you on this transformation. So now your customers understand who you are and what you do. So we got to get loyal leads. On the sales side, we have probably people, we have a lot of, I call them looky-loos, or people who were slow to close deals, basically. People call us, or you get off a phone call with a prospect, and it sounds like, man, that was a great lead. We're going to get that project. And they never sign, they never start, they never pay. So we need to close more deals. And so I focus a lot with solopreneurs on how do we get that first signature? How do we get them to say yes and get them onboarded quickly so that we can put them into our process. And then the last thing, the delivery. Delivery is how we deliver the thing we said we would sell, do our service. And the thing here is we wear too many hats. Solopreneurs are wearing too many hats. You're probably also the accountant. You're the salesperson. You are the marketer. And I think what I say is we need to do what you love. So one of the first wins with most solopreneurs is hiring a bookkeeper. If you're still doing QuickBooks and you're 6 months behind, that used to be me. I'm 95% sure I was doing it incorrectly. It turns out that's fairly important, right? Taxes, things like that. So, and usually it's such a scarcity mindset with the solopreneur. It's not even a money thing. It's just, they feel like they have to do it all. They feel like, well, I became an entrepreneur, so I have to do it all. And I'm a big believer in my coach, Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time is a book that he wrote. How do we spend more time in the things we're great at and delegate and hand off the rest? So most people started as a solopreneur because they wanted to do their craft, a designer, a photographer, a brander, a copywriter, whatever it might be. These are the people that I work with, usually creative folks. And then they realize, gosh, I'm spending so much time sending emails, making proposals, doing bookkeeping, following up. Yes. Yeah. So those are sort of the core three. So we want to get loyal leads, we want to close more deals, and we want to do what we love. And that's sort of the triangle I help people that I coach with.
And what I often see, and I think you touched on it, the scarcity mindset. I think this is a very important topic, because it's not only, as you said, it's not only money, but it's also, I can do it better. I should do this. I can't trust anyone. There won't be anyone around who could help me, or they don't know where to find these people. And especially nowadays, I mean, I started 30 years ago, almost. Oh my God. And back then, you didn't have Upwork, you didn't have Fiverr, you didn't have any of those services. It was very hard to find people before all these platforms came up. But nowadays, if I need something, I go on Upwork and within an hour, I have 20, 30 people I can talk to who can do certain activities which I don't want to do or I'm not skilled in. Fiverr is the same. I mean, you can have a network of people all around the world supporting you. So this is all available at our fingertips. Also,
and there's somebody out there
exactly
that wants to do the thing you hate to do.
Yeah.
We have this sort of mindset belief blocker of, well, I got to do my own crap. I got to do my own dirty work. It's not that way. I mean, one of the biggest hacks I see with the CEOs that I coach is just giving them a virtual assistant for 10 hours a week. Yeah. Our brains are all wired differently, and we all have strengths and talents and weaknesses and superpowers. And there's a lot of things you probably shouldn't do. And if you can do more of your craft or more of, one of the first things I call it your 10, 100, 1,000. What is your $10 task? In my agency days, I used to take the checks to the bank just because I liked the feeling of knowing that we were like making money. Mm-hmm. Well, that wasn't worth my time, right? Like we had an office manager. I gave her signing status. She could deposit the checks. $100 task in my agency days was probably sending email, like checking in with clients, following up. It's worth it. It's there, but like I can create a lot of templates and have Emily, my assistant, do that. $1,000 task was on a sales call or speaking on a stage at a conference to potential prospects, or I would even argue a one-on-one meeting with my team, because I always say you build the team and the team builds the business, right? And so getting clear about where you're spending your time and where your 10, 100, 1,000 are, we want to do more of that 1,000 and less of that 10.
Yeah, and this is a mindset transformation they have to go through. Every solopreneur. Yeah,
one of the questions I asked I have an online community with these solopreneurs was, what's holding you back from growing your business? Mm-hmm. And the answers, I thought it would have been sales. The answers kind of astonished me. It was like, I don't want to have to do the taxes. Mm-hmm. I don't want to have to manage somebody. I don't want to mess it up. There was this like fear of growing meant more pressure and meant it was more likely to screw it up, even though the truth is you can, when you get to that when you do grow, you can do even more of what you love and less of what you don't love, right? And really get into that zone of genius, we call it. So that's just a mindset thing. It's not even a numbers thing.
So how do you help them transforming from the beginner solopreneurs who thinks that he or she has to do everything to the, I would say, more elevated solopreneur who is delegating, who's focusing on their craft, but everything else is taken care of by experts?
Yeah, so the main way I do that, I have a 10-week program called No More Solo. Mm-hmm. And I put solopreneurs together. Typically, we're in like a cohort of 6 to 10. And we go through that triangle model of marketing, sales, and delivery. And we're trying to first figure out, how do we get more clear about what we're selling and the transformation we take our customers on? How do we design what I call a product ladder? Because what the tendency, we sometimes aren't clear on what we're selling, or we're willing to do sort of whatever somebody asks us to do in the pace. And so then we're not known for anything, right? And I always say specificity equals referability. So if I tell you I'm a coach for creative solopreneurs, you might actually be able to think of somebody who might fit my program. But if I tell you, Sebastian, I'm a business coach, it's like, okay, that's great. Who do you coach, right? Like there's a lot of business coaches out there. And so I think the more specific you are on who you serve, then you can get referability. We all want word of mouth. Yeah. Word of mouth is great. And then like on that sales side, a lot of it is like building repeatable sales processes, proposals, and templates so you can move quicker, getting them to close those deals, nailing the onboarding. I think I do a lot of services companies, so designers and creatives, and you got to have a portfolio, you got to have some logos, but really the differentiator is how you work with the client. It's the service part. It's not even the delivery, it's the service. And then in that delivery phase, it's a lot of it is delegating, hiring maybe a virtual assistant, maybe a first contractor, so that you start to kind of leave this solopreneur journey and start to head toward building a team and a company. So in 10 weeks, my goal is to help you double your monthly revenue without burning out. So you might be making $15K a month right now. The thought of going to 30 sounds great for your wallet, but maybe actually sounds terrifying because you're like, there's no way I can do all that.
Exactly. I have to do my accounting. I have to do the bookkeeping. I have to do this and that. So how should I spend more time? Because many people, they think in billable hours. They think I only have 40 hours a week, or maybe they have 60 hours a week. 20 hours is admin or 30 hours as admin, and they only have 30 billable hours. Doubling your revenue means doubling their hourly rate, which they are afraid of doing. So probably also another thinking.
Yeah. So like, here in the States, we say if you're trying to figure out someone's hourly rate, you take it times like 2,000, roughly 2,000 working hours in a year. If you have 2 weeks, we don't take enough vacation, of course, but so if you're billing at $100 an hour, your ceiling is $200,000. Now that's a good job, but that's assuming you're billing every single hour of the year, which, as you just said, it's not possible. We're not robots. And so you're always going to hit that ceiling and you're going to burn out because you just can't be a machine.
Yeah. And this also means that they have to rethink the way they package their services, that they deliver not, they don't sell their time, they sell a value, a product, a package, and so they can double their revenue in 10 weeks, as you said.
Yeah, that's the goal. Yeah. You might not have completely doubled it, but you're on the path to doubling by the end of the 10-week program and being able to support that doubling so that you're not afraid of it. You're actually embracing it. Yeah. Now, I think one of the mindsets you have to shift is people don't like sales. That's kind of like a scary thing to them. I do believe that a founder should probably drive almost the first $1 million in sales because you're going to be the one that's uniquely positioned to explain the problem, to communicate the transformation, and really show the value of your service, because it isn't just hourly. It's a package. It's a delivery. It's a value thing. So that sometimes means putting that sales cap on and embracing it and recognizing you can be good at it, because really sales is problem solving. It doesn't have to be sleazy. It doesn't have to be slimy. It just has to. It's
consulting. It's problem solving. Exactly. You listen and you give advice and you provide a solution.
Exactly. So one of the things I love to do, the first exercise I'll do with a new coaching client is called an energy audit. And anybody can do this at home right now. You just need a sheet of paper and a pencil. You draw a line down the middle. And on one side you put plus, and the other side you put minus. And a lot of us will schedule our calendar based on like priority, or this is an emergency, or it's a Tuesday, so I do this, or it's a Wednesday, so I do that. And I will work with CEOs to say, let's schedule our calendar based on our energy, right? What gives you more energy and what drains your energy? So when I was running an agency, doing bookkeeping not only physically drained me, but mentally I just was so worried about it. I was so stressed about it. I knew it was wrong. So like, we're going to get rid of that stuff on the minus side. The plus side, if I could be out leading a workshop or speaking on a stage or doing a podcast, like I might physically be tired, but emotionally or mentally, I'm jazzed up. I'm fired up. I'm ready to go.
Exactly. Yeah,
yes. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a really interesting exercise. In 5 minutes, you can just put all the pluses, all the gain energy, the minuses, and then we're going to spend a lot of time, what I say, D, E, and A on that minus side, which is delegate, eliminate, or automate. So I know you just did an episode about, AI, like you could automate things pretty interesting nowadays, things you don't like. You could delegate to like a virtual assistant or a staff member, a team, a contractor. And sometimes I encourage people, what if you just stop doing something that you used to always do? I have to do this meeting because I always did this meeting. Just eliminate it and see if you really miss it. Yeah. Sometimes we don't actually need to do the things we're doing.
You mentioned AI. I mean, a very interesting topic, especially for creative people. How do they deal with that?
Yeah, I love the line. Somebody said, like, I wanted AI to do the laundry so I could spend more time on my hobbies. And instead, AI is doing my hobbies. So I have to do the laundry. I thought that was amazing. We always thought it was going to come for the very like rote, mechanical, and I still think it will, but it started really heavily in this creative space. And so I subscribe to the theory of like, you're not going to lose your job to AI. You'll lose it to the person using AI, right? The person who's embracing it. And so I don't think it's ready for prime time when it comes to creative work, but I do think it's interesting in sort of the downstream activities around your creative work. So, at Lemonly, we would always start our projects with a mood board, like images and ideas to show the client what the final thing would look like before we actually made the thing. right? So we wanted them to understand it's going to be red, and you approved it's going to be red. And instead of we get to the end and they say, why wasn't this blue, right? Like we were trying to have guardrails. And so mood boards, an amazing way that AI can generate ideas for you. Now I'm not in the design space anymore, but as a coach, I'll create kind of what I call pillar content, a podcast, a YouTube video. And then I use a tool called Cast Magic to help me kind of do all the deliverables around that. So how do I turn a podcast into a LinkedIn post? Or how do I turn this YouTube video into some tweets, maybe an email newsletter? So I'm using AI that way. I actually like my position in the market as a coach, because I think AI is not going to take that. Because the reason you hire a coach isn't actually, part of it's the knowledge, but a lot of it is honestly more the accountability, sort of the inspiration, that cheerleading, like having a personal connection. I think in an AI world, those things are going to matter more. I've seen this good visual I like when you talk about AI called like a K-shaped economy. So you think of the letter of a K. About 80% of our tasks are going to matter less and less, our skills and the tasks that we do. But that 20% is going to matter even more. So that in that K model, how do we think about more of that 20% of our tasks that's going to become even more valuable?
No, I completely agree. Also, I run a community for coaching people how to leverage AI, as you said, to be on the right side. And agents is one of the things that really put AI on the next level. So I also create all my podcast content with agents we build. I put a transcript into an agent, and then it creates all kinds of assets and so on. And
cool. And it's something you just built yourself, like custom?
Yeah, we built it ourselves using some platforms to build these agents, and it's amazing that what you can do, and it really takes off 80% of your work. And then you can, I'm always, when I create a presentation, for example, when I stare at a blank canvas, and it's really hard to get started. It's really hard to, put the first slides together. But when you have an AI system, which puts 60-70% of the content there, and you just refine it, and then it's a real game changer for your work.
Well, I call that the 10-80-10. And this would apply for employees, and now I guess it also applies for AI. But basically, if you have a team or an agent, you do the first 10%, which in this case is like the prompt. They cover the 80%, the bulk of the work, and then you come back in at the end for the final 10. Massage, tweak it, get it game time ready. 100%. I think the biggest thing with AI, and that's great that you have a community, is just getting into that tinker mindset, right? That kind of engineer play mindset where you don't a lot of people I think are waiting on the sidelines for it to be perfect, and you should just start dipping your toe in and dabbling right now, even if it's not quite perfect, just so you understand.
Exactly, because this puts you in the forefront of majority of people, because they are still afraid. They look at AI, but they think, this is something might destroy my job, and they're not embracing it. And it's also a recommendation for all the people in your world, creatives. Yes, it is taking away jobs, but it's also creating new jobs. It's creating new forms of activity, and we can deliver higher quality products because we get the mood board in seconds, and then boom, you send it to the client, and you get your feedback.
I always like the line. I have a 9-year-old daughter. She's in 3rd grade, and I don't know how they figured out this stat, but the stat that I had heard is that if you are a kid before 5th grade, so if you're younger than a 5th grader, 50% of the jobs that'll be out there when you graduate from high school don't even exist yet. And so, I can sit down with my daughter, Margot, and say, do you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher or an astronaut? And then there's all these other things I don't even know what to call them yet. A prompt engineer or we're not sure yet. And so will AI disrupt society? Yeah, I think it might, but there'll be another
Exactly.
thing that we need in another skill. And so.
Good. So you also developed a scorecard thing. You want to share a little bit about this tool?
I call that the Solopreneur Scorecard. And the problem I found, and I probably used to do this myself too, solopreneurs, most of them just say, well, we made more money than we spent last month.
Good.
So that's a good job. And we keep going.
Yeah.
And that is a first sort of level of accomplishment. But the problem with that is we don't quite have our hands around the business. We don't know, is it going to be a busy month? Is it going to be a slow month? Because the hardest thing in the creative world is measuring sort of your bandwidth, right? You'll sell a big project for October and now you're busy, heads down, working all of October. And then October 30th comes in, you send the files off and you realize, oh crap, I didn't sell anything for November. And so I recommend building a scorecard, and I have a template. We can give it to your audience. It's 5 metrics. So it's a marketing metric, like what are the daily activities we need to do to keep talking about ourselves, to keep putting content out into the world, to tell folks that, we're here, we can help you. I think we tend to do marketing in waves, and it needs to be a little bit more smooth, like everyday activities. Sales is what's the activity we can track that shows that we're out there meeting with clients. It could even be coffee meetings. I love like proposals sent, number of sales calls. At the end of the day, sales is sort of a math game, right? Now, I can't control if you don't have the budget or if your boss said, we're going to do this in 2025 instead of 20. I can't control that, but I can control how many meetings I have or how many calls I make, how many proposals I send. So we have a marketing metric, we have a sales metric. That'll give us revenue, just top line revenue. How many of those deals do people say yes to? So that's an easy, just dollar sign metric. Then we track delivery, and delivery is how efficiently or effectively do we deliver what we sold. So in the creative world, this could be billable hours. Now, I don't recommend charging by hours, but it is good to track your hours to know how efficiently, and this is where like AI could come in, you can really reduce those type of billable hours. So it could be billable hours. It could be, in my world at Lemonly, we used to do infographics, like content created or images published or podcast post, or like, what's the metric that you're doing the work? And then lastly, profit. So we have revenue up here, but after delivery, how much is left over, right? So we actually know, are we making money, right? Kind of the point of running a business. And so these 5 metrics, they act like a funnel from top to bottom: marketing activities, closing deals, revenue, delivery, profit. And then we try to turn the thing over and make it spin faster and bigger. And so what you start to see if you track data for a few months is like, okay, in August, I did a lot of really good, successful marketing. In July, we sent a lot of proposals out. And guess what? In August, we're going to be really busy because I can track that sort of flow of our business. And so you start to know, like, if we're busy in sales in this month, we might be busy in creative or delivery the next month. Exactly. And so it's just a fancy Google sheet. I mean, nothing that fancy, but it's just a pretty looking Google sheet that I recommend people put these numbers in. And the little psychology trick here is you turn those metrics red if you missed your goal and green if you hit your goal. And I don't know about you, but like, I'm competitive with myself and I want to turn those dumb little cells green every month because I want to know, like, am I doing what I said I would do? Am I doing what my business requires of me? And then the real power, as you start to become beyond a solopreneur, is delegating some of those metrics to other people. So if Sebastian is my marketing person, your responsibility is this metric. You're going to turn that one green.
I will do my best.
And you will do your best because you want to, and you want to, where some people, I live in a part of the country here in the States where we pretty humble Midwestern folks. We don't like to say we're very competitive, at least against other people. But I think we're all competitive against ourselves, right? And so we want to beat last quarter, last year, yesterday. And just a little bit of color, a little gamification on that scorecard works wonders.
Yeah, would love to share this with the show notes, the scorecard. So.
Perfect. I'll give out the Google template. It's available for free. Yep.
And so this is basically what they use throughout these 10 weeks you work with them. And
we build the scorecard. Yep. We build those marketing activities. What should those proposal templates look like that help you close more deals? what's your product ladder look like? You talked about like not just selling hourly work, but actually packaging it up in values. And, in the creative world, repeat customers are so valuable because if you're happy and you come back the second time, not only is your lifetime value expanding, but I know what you like. I know your dislikes. It's probably easier for us to deliver. Each project gets more profitable when we get to do repeat customers.
And you want to share a few success stories from your participants? Maybe?
Yeah, sure. So I have a group. It's a video agency that makes science videos for like the pharmacy science world. So they have gone from 500K to about 1.5 million in revenue. They've expanded their team. They've added more people. And the scorecard, they were in that category of they never knew if they had made money or not. And once they saw the scorecard, they realized how many leads they had in their pipeline that they just kind of let disappear. Like they'd have these email calls, these phone, and then they would just they wouldn't even do the follow-up. And so immediately we captured a lot of revenue just in that pipeline. And now we're trying to reactivate those clients again to do second, third, fourth projects. So that's really exciting to watch them grow. And as a coach, you can kind of see the light bulb moment when things like the scorecard and the templates really start to take off for them. So that's a lot of fun. We're in a cohort right now. We have 7 solopreneurs. We're about week 3 into my current cohort. So I'm just getting started with that crew to see where their stories will go.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's a very rewarding job as a coach to help them, to see them grow and develop. And I also agree what you said in the beginning that being an entrepreneur, I mean, for me, it's the only way I could imagine earning my money. It's the most beautiful way of providing value, I personally think. So that's why also.
Yeah, I think financial freedom is certainly a part of entrepreneurship, but I think the freedom is even more important, right? The ability to do what you're doing this week and taking your family and to control your own destiny and to feel like you have ownership of your schedule. And, I think COVID gave a lot of desk workers a taste of that, work from home or flexibility. And I think that's great. But it was pretty cool. When I sold my business, they had a going away party for me, and we had run this agency 10 years and it's still running. There's 20 employees. One of the spouses of one of my longtime employees came up to me and she said, Lemonly changed our life, like changed our family's life, right? From having a good job to they started a family, their flexibility. And that was pretty cool to know that like something that never used to exist that we created collectively now has changed someone's life. It's pretty amazing.
I run a consultancy for over 20 years and had also a huge team of people and families. And what I really loved is I had a whole spectrum of people. I had people who started at my company, their career came just from university, and I also had people who finished their careers or retired, and this whole bandwidth of experience, of age groups, and it really it was really fulfilling. And it's not only the clients you serve, it's also your employees you serve, and you create an environment for them, and you feed families and provide job security. So yes, very rewarding. John, I could talk for hours with you. It was really enlightening, and I'm sure many of our solopreneur listeners, they already took notes and will download the scorecard. I'm also a fan of visual interpretation.
It'll be, in your AI community, it'll be interesting because, I've heard people talk about when will we see the first $1 billion solo company because of things like AI. Like it's going to happen. Like Instagram was famous for building $1 billion company with like 10 employees. Well, now we're going to see it with one and AI. It's going to happen. It's crazy. So I believe if you're doing services, going beyond solopreneurship and adding that assistant or that contractor or team member is the way to go. But AI is also going to make that an interesting.
Your virtual team. Thank you so much. Yeah, good luck with the current cohort and share with us how they grow and develop.
Yeah, and I'll share the links. You can go to leadmore.com to learn more. That's the name of my business, about the coaching program. And I'll also give you the link for the scorecard.
Thanks, John. Have a good one.
Thanks, Sebastian.